Hi, it's Andy, and today's episode is for leaders who are tired of being overeducated but yet under-equipped. Leaders who don't want another abstract model. You want tools you can use in the next conversation, the next decision, and the next difficult moment. Because leadership doesn't happen in theory, but it does happen in motion, and that's what we're going to dig into today. Welcome to the Leading Life Podcast, the place where leadership meets real life. Here is where we talk about leading with intention, living with clarity, and getting better results for the people we serve every single day. If you're ready to grow, you're in the right place. Right now on today's episode, people want practical wisdom and not corporate theory. Welcome to the Leading Life Podcast. I'm Andy Zook. This is the show where we talk about what it takes to grow, lead, and live with purpose. After more than 35 years of leading teams, coaching people, and building leaders, I've learned one thing. Your life will only grow as much as you're willing to lead it. So each episode here gives you practical tools and real-world insights to help you become a stronger leader. And that's at work, at home, and throughout all your life in general. Promise, no fluff, no empty motivation, no phony positivity, just actionable steps you can take and put into practice right now today. You're listening to me because I didn't start at the top. I started at $7.25 an hour, but I learned the work. I shook the hands, I grew through the ranks, and along the way, I discovered something powerful. Leadership isn't given, but it's built. And if you're willing to grow, this life is possible for you too. Okay, so imagine I'm your director, and you show up at my meeting and I say this: we need to leverage our core competencies. I want you to think about, what does that mean? What am I even saying? We need to leverage our core competencies. I can guarantee probably somebody at some meeting somewhere right now is saying those words. And here's what it usually means. Let's keep doing what we're already comfortable doing. True progress often requires building new capabilities. So what if we went to a more practical level and I said, what new skill or system or mindset must we develop as a team to stay competitive? You see, there's a quiet frustration happening inside leadership today. Not because leaders don't care, not because they're not trying, but because so much of what they're given sounds impressive, yet feels completely unusable. They sit through presentations filled with frameworks, buzzwords, and perfect world models, and then they walk back into real workplaces filled with real humans and realize none of it actually helps them lead better tomorrow morning. So today we're talking about the difference between corporate theory and practical leadership wisdom. Because the best leaders aren't looking for ideas that sound smart. They're looking for ideas that work. And so this matters because modern leadership development has a hidden problem. And that hidden problem is it often prioritizes intellectual complexity over just practical usefulness. Research will show us that adults learn best through real examples, immediate application, emotional relevance, and repetition in real working situations. Yet many leadership programs deliver the opposite. They have these dense concepts, these hypothetical scenarios, and perfect world assumptions, and then most of all, there's no follow-through. This creates a dangerous gap. Leaders know more, but lead no better. So stop trying to sound smart and start being real and relatable. Your people want realness and authenticity, and they want practical steps. Practical wisdom says, show me what works with real people on a hard Tuesday afternoon. And there's powerful neuroscience behind this. The brain builds confidence through actionable mastery and experiences, not theoretical understanding. So when leaders successfully apply even one small tool, the dopamine reinforces the learning. Stress with your people starts to decrease. Their decision speed will improve, and then emotional regulation will strengthen. This is why simple, repeatable leadership behaviors outperform complex philosophies. And not that theory is bad, it's that theory without translation that becomes intellectual entertainment. And leadership is not entertainment, it's responsibility. So let's get into it. What are 3 practical wisdom shifts that great leaders make? Well, number 1, they translate big ideas into small, simple behaviors. Average leaders collect concepts, but but effective leaders convert concepts into action. Instead of saying, build trust, they say, what is one thing that I can do today that increases our trust by 5%? And some examples of that might be following through faster, explaining decisions more clearly, or asking one more deep question. Once we had a pricing change not too long ago in our company, and honestly, it could have been explained in 15 seconds from a one-page document, but it turned into this early morning, hour-long conference call that was full of introductions and their biographies and all this dramatic buildup and flair that by the end of the call, 50 minutes has gone by and we still haven't talked about anything. And that's corporate theory culture. Practical leadership would have said, here's the change, here's why we're doing it, here's what you start with tomorrow, and we'll follow up in a week. It would have been that simple. All right, number 2, the next thing we want to do is focus on real conversations, not perfect strategies. Leadership success rarely comes from flawless planning. It comes from skillful human interaction. So practical leaders master how to deliver honest feedback, how to calm the emotional tension, how to motivate tired teams, how to redirect negativity, and how to recognize effort authentically. These are not theories. These are daily reps. Just like fitness, consistency builds strength. And learning how to talk to your people is really a critical skill, and being relatable is much easier than you think. And I know I've told you guys that story before. When I was working in our home office, I ended up visiting stores across the states, and I was in Long Island. I'll never forget it. I had a really great time. And it was funny because we were rolling out this new tablet for everybody to use, and it would really simplify their business and make everything faster. I was talking to this optician, and I just kept dropping acronyms. And this guy was funny because he was just kind of like, every person's person kind of guy. And he was getting frustrated because he had no idea what I was talking about. I'm known to be the guy that really breaks down things that are complicated into something simple. But before I went into the store, I hadn't changed my leadership situationally to the store level. And so in this moment, I wasn't really making the impact. So I kept dropping all these big corporate labels and acronyms and buzzwords, but we both started just laughing. And then I said, hold on, let's redo this. And it was great. And I explained in a way that was much more relatable and that he could appreciate. All right. So number 3, they measure leadership by impact, not elegance. Corporate theory often rewards sounding sophisticated, and real leadership rewards the progress. So everybody's craving simplicity. I remember when I first got to our home office, people would be speaking a language that I didn't even understand. And it's not their fault. It's what they were used to. I wasn't used to it. And it took me a while to pick it up. But the main thing I noticed is that we had meeting after meeting after meeting where we left without actionable steps. And so we talked a lot of theory. We talked about what we wanted to do at work, but we didn't always have this clear delegation of what each person was working on to build the said project. One thing that my boss, Rebecca, did really well was she had a list of deliverables for me every week and how they aligned to the overall mission of what we were building. And that's what I want you to focus on with these questions. Did my team leave clearer today than when we started? Did morale improve slightly? Did performance begin to move forward? And did everyone feel seen and supported? And if the answer is yes, you are leading, not perfectly, but effectively. Here is your leadership edge for this episode. Some leaders hide inside theory because it feels safe. It feels good. Big words make us sound important. It allows them to sound knowledgeable without risking real influence. But practical leadership requires the courage. It means we're trying new approaches. We're being emotionally present. We're adjusting in real time. And we're learning from the imperfect outcomes that happen. Practical wisdom is messy, but it's powerful because people don't follow polished slides. They follow leaders who help them succeed. And so here is your call to arms for the action. This week, simplify your leadership a little bit. Just tweak it a little. Choose one practical action. Have one clearer conversation. Give one piece of meaningful recognition. Get one sharper expectation to your people to know how to execute. Solve one lingering frustration and listen fully without interrupting. Leadership growth doesn't require a seminar. It requires intentional moments. Small wisdom applied consistently will create massive influence. And as I always say, influence is the currency of leadership. I want to leave you with a couple things that I would avoid using because these are very corporate wordings that are very commonplace, and I don't want you to sound like every other leader out there. Number one, synergy. What it usually means is we want people to work better together. What you can say instead is who needs to collaborate differently this week and how. The next one would be circle back. What it usually means is we are avoiding a decision. So what I want you to say is let's decide the next step right now. Why are we waiting? Why do we need to circle back? Let's make a decision now. Low-hanging fruit. What this usually means is let's go for the easy thing. What I want you to say instead is what action will create the biggest impact and quickly. The next one I would avoid is move the needle. I hear this all the time. It's nothing wrong with it, but what it usually means is we want better performance. What if we said, what exact metric are we working to improve this week or this month? Another one is thought leadership. I hear that out there a lot. And what it usually means is we want to sound innovative. What you want to say instead is how will this idea change results or behaviors? Next is best in class. What it usually means is we want to sound elite. What if we say, what does excellence look like in daily behavior? Or another one I hear often is bandwidth. What it usually means is people are overloaded. But what if we say, what should we stop doing to focus on priorities? And then you guys probably hear this on every call. We'll take this offline. And what it usually means is this conversation is getting uncomfortable. So what if we just said, let's clarify this now so everyone will leave the call aligned? The best leaders are not the ones who know the most, but they're the ones who apply the most, because leadership is not proven in presentations. It's proven in the progress. And your progress begins with your practical wisdom today. All right, so that is my episode. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who might need it, because leading your life well isn't about perfection, but it is about awareness, courage, and choosing what truly matters one day at a time. If you liked what you heard, please leave me a rating or review, and remember, hit subscribe so you won't miss another episode of the Leading Life Podcast. I'm Andy Zook. I want you to lead with purpose, live with intention, and keep becoming who you were meant to be. But most importantly, go out, be the hero of somebody's story today. I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.